Okay guys, so now we're gonna have a look at creating the random number algorithm. So let's get into it. So I fiddle around with it a little bit, and this is the diff that we might be interested in looking at. So basically all that we've done now is that we've added this file here and made a few updates. So let's look at the Git Diff. And we can see here that I've added basically the static middleware. So we will resolve all static files to the static directory. And then in my index.html file, I've added a reference to this main.js file. And then I've added this function here called random number. And that's all it's going to do. This is, I feel good about this. Let's commit this. And let's just call that something like added random algorithm, something like that. And then let's do a git push on that one, and I haven't set the upstream yet, so I can copy paste that there, and I will push that to my feature branch, random algorithm. Cool. So now we will go here and we will see that, hey, there's actually a random algorithm branch. Added logic for algorithm. Here we are. Let's create a pull request for that. And then we make a small little review here just of our own code to make sure that, yeah, it looks pretty much as we expected. And then we will move it to ready for code review. And now magically I transform into another person, a coworker of Frederick, and I am now going to look at this code review. So if I am in the review mode now and I have a look here, I can see that, okay, Frederick has added this section here. That feels pretty good. He's added this thing here. My first concern with this is that this file is not, it doesn't have a hash or anything like that. So I would probably, if this was a more sophisticated application, I would ask how Frederick has planned on handling versioning, because if we change this file, the browser is going to have this cached, so we need to have a strategy for hashing this, or making something like making sure that the user who is going to use our application isn't going to have old files like this file here, because if the browser caches this file and we make changes, they're going to use old code. So if I was a bit more strict and this application was a more professional one, I would have commented on that and probably added a little section here saying that that needs to be fixed before we can do this, and then I would have sent this card back from code review to ongoing and put a comment or something in this card here and tell Frederick that you need to think about this. And then I see that he's added this function here called random number, and although I have a few comments here, it depends on how random do we need this to be, because this is only pseudo-random-ish. The other questions that I would ask is, why are there no unit tests for this? I understand that testing randomness might be hard, but there's no unit test for this, and that should also probably be there if we wanted to have a high quality of software, like a high code quality. And depending on our stance on documentation, I notice here that there is no comment describing the behavior of this function, which is also a little bit bad. We might want to have something like that as well. So these are some things. I mean, I'm gonna let this slide because I'm just such a swell guy. But if this was me working on a professional, like a real project, I would have probably sent this back to ongoing with a few comments that this Frederick guy has to fix before I feel comfortable saying that this is okay. But for now, I'm going to say that this is okay. So we're going to move that ready for testing, and then I am yet again another coworker, and I pick this up and I put that in testing. And then I will fire up my server like this, because there are no unit tests or anything like that, so I can only really do manual testing. So how are we going to test this? Well, the way that I think that, because I've been looking at this review, right, I can see that there are a few things that I expect to happen. So if I refresh this page now, I should see, yes, a random number function, and I should be able to call that function, and it should return like random numbers in like the 0 to 9 range, somewhere around there. And this seems to be working. And if we look at the network, we can also see that there is a file that is indeed being transferred correctly, and here's the code. So yeah, that's pretty much the scope of this story. I feel comfortable with this, so I will move that to ready to be merged, and then I will ping Frederick or tell him that, hey, you can merge this now. Just hit that merge button, or whoever is in charge of doing that. And then I can go back to conversation, and I can do basically, well, I don't have to do any of these basic, in essence, I can just hit confirm merge, and that should be it really. And then I can also delete that branch because I don't need the branch anymore. And as we saw earlier, now that this merge has happened, we should see that there is actually, yeah, like added random algorithm has been added. And if I go to my file system here and I go and do the CO master, we will see that, hey, there is no file, but if I do a pull, we will see that, hey, this file is now actually in master. And just as before, we will simply do git branch delete. You don't actually have to delete it every time, because the thing is that sometimes it's actually useful to have the local branch. If I'm completely honest, I usually just let my old branches stay around because I never know if I need to go back and reference them and stuff of this nature. But that's about it really. So now this has been merged and we can call that done. And we scroll all the way back, and then we will look at the final story before we can make a proper release. So that's coming up in the next video.